He overcame temptation with flying colors. So what is it that we do? What is it that we get? First of all, our Father said, when you come boldly. Let's approach God's throne with grace and confidence so we can receive confidences boldly. We can receive mercy and find grace. There's your promise. That's what he promised. Mercy. Why? He not only is giving attention to you, and it's important to him because he understands the problem. It's important to him because you're his child. It's on the front of his radar. It's blipping, and you're important. And he responds with mercy and grace. My child is here. He's in trouble. Jesus said, yeah, I did that. That's a big one. Yeah. We need to send help. Big. And so our great high priest, sitting at the right hand of the Father, is familiar with what we are going through. But notice, the instructions are not to come with formality and ritual. Not to put on the robes. Go through a ritual. Formality kills everything that God sent Jesus to do. The instructions are, get in there, he's your Father. Trust the guy, come boldly, knowing this is a fact. When you get into his presence, you will receive mercy and grace. It will happen. You can come screaming in from any situation, and there's your Father. You ought to try that with the President of the United States. Just go rushing in there, and you will receive about a pound of lead. But in the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords, the creator of the universe, you're his kid. You rush in there and you will be received. He will extend grace and mercy. This is the age of grace and mercy. We wish it was an age of intervention. There is an intervention coming. And it will be bigger than the one you've ever asked God for. Right now, he's treating you with grace and mercy. If you get into his presence, every time you come into his presence, you receive grace and mercy. Every time he understands, and every time he will listen. And he doesn't say, oh, man, that sounds bad. What's that like? What's going on here? No, he says, yeah, my son was telling me about that. I hear you. You're my kid. This is real. I'm with you on that. Sometimes just talking to God and knowing that he heard you, and as you get older, people who are older tell me this, but they are confident and relaxed and trust, simply knowing that God knows. You know, you don't really have to do an intervention here. Just you telling me that you know, I got it. And that you know how bad it is, and you know what just happened to me. I got it. I'm good. Sometimes his mercy is tangible, sometimes it's intangible. Sometimes the circumstances never change, but when we get up from the presence of God, we have changed. We're better. We're seeing clearly. His mercy is amazing. Remember, he was going up to the tomb of Lazarus, and everybody's gathered around. Mary is there. She's a tender heart. She's crying and wailing, and her friends, woo, and then 100 friends go, woo, and it's kind of a noisy place. Martha was sort of on him a bit. If you'd have been here, you caused this. Excuse me, all the pieces. You say you're his friend. Yet, as he approached the tomb, he already knew what he was going to do. He already knew Lazarus was going to be raised from the dead. He knew this wasn't permanent. In fact, we find that Lazarus became one of the elders in the church. When it was established, Jesus returned. He became one of the leaders, and they were trying to kill him, but apparently difficult, but Jesus wept. And they said, wow, look at how much he loved Lazarus. I'm not convinced. I don't have any proof in this. I'll put this in my version of the owner's manual. What he was about to do to Lazarus was ugly. Lazarus is in an amazing place. Jesus said, I hate to do this to you, buddy. I know. There's angels and flowers and fresh air and no pain, and I'm bringing you back to this donkey dung. I'm sorry. But hang in there with me, would you? Hey, put me back! I think that's why he was crying. Plus, he's looking at all the pain death was causing, and it's not part of the plan. It's never part of the creation. But can you see that he has feelings for this stuff? He can enter in. He's not stoic, saying, suck it up, get on with it. He's saying, I feel your pain. He never ran for president, but he can feel your pain. Now, this is the promise, grace, mercy. Every time you get into the presence of God, you have a meeting with God, and he moves you to the top of his list. So there we have grace, mercy, and back to the fact that he doesn't always deliver us from our trouble. But I tell you what he does do every time. He will deliver you through your trouble. You will make it. You'll make it every time. If you will go into the presence of God, if you will receive grace and mercy, he will give you strength to carry you through the whole deal. The only way a child of God can fail is to stop. Amen? There is nothing you can do to a child of God. They will conquer every time. And what's the word? Kill them. They wake up in the presence of Jesus. Hey, Laz, what is it like being up here and get sucked back there? Wasn't that a trip? Hey, man. Oh, look, they're down there still throwing stones at me. Whatever. The child of God is destined to be eternally in the presence of God. And when you need it most, his strength is there for you, in you, and taking you through whatever it is to deliver you. I know that's not a satisfying answer. Excuse me, I would rather you change the circumstances, make me wealthy, and kill all my enemies. I want to marry her, if you could work that out. I'd like to be the boss, if you could do that. And lottery would be nice. Not coming. I want a religion where I do A, Jesus and his Father do B, or I do A, B, and C, they do this, and this. And I've just told you, he can, and he sometimes does, but mostly he walks beside you. You want an intervention, and there is an intervention coming, and it's going to be a big one. We want God to, you know, my boss, I'm not getting along with him. He's talking about moving to Detroit, and if you just encourage him, Detroit would be good. In fact, that whole third floor, move the whole third floor. Just intervene in my life, make my circumstances better, move the whole third floor. And we want him to intervene. But this is the age of grace and mercy. And he extends to you grace and mercy, and he also extends to people who don't even believe grace and mercy. We want God to change everything around us, and a prayer that we never pray is, God, I'm the problem. Change me.
Amen. Amen.
open my eyes. Let me see what you see. Help me to walk more like Jesus. We want him to change everything around us so we can continue to be our egocentric thinking self. And that we would like the world to bend around us. And that's most of the interventions that we want God to do. God says, why don't we just walk with you until you learn how to live and enjoy life? Learn to enjoy the fact that my spirit lives in you. The spirit that created everything, the spirit that brought Jesus back from the dead. Learn to walk through life understanding who you are. And yes, I will do an intervention, and it will be more abrupt than that car you wanted. It will be more abrupt than that house you were praying for. It will be more powerful than that promotion you were asking for, and it'll be more beautiful than that woman you wanted to marry. I know, she married your best friend, big deal. There's an intervention coming where sin as an entity is ended. Sorrow as an entity ceases to exist. Pain will no longer be. That's an intervention. And then from that point going forward, the presence and the reign of God of peace is now in place. That's the kind of intervention God does. You want these little nibbly things because you want what you want and you want God to do what you want. But he's God, you're not. Learn to walk with him in faith and trust, and knowing that every time you get into his presence, he's a merciful Father who loves you and will extend grace to you. There's what you can trust God for. You can trust God. You can stake your claim that every time you get into his presence, he extends welcome and gives grace, mercy, peace, power, assurance. The circumstances may not change, but if you ever get into that throne room, you will be flooded with the knowledge and the promise it's going to be okay. You know, when your kid's crying and they're just beside themselves, and you pick them up and hug them and they just snuggle in and stop crying, you didn't change anything. They just knew it was going to be okay. Yes. He's saying, come boldly. Come with confidence. Well, I don't know. You know what I did last week? No, just get in there. Well, I don't know. No, just get in there. Get in there into his presence. This is the age of grace and mercy. And there's a day coming when it's not. But for today, that's where we live. What can you ask God for? Anything. And he will receive you with grace and mercy. What did he promise? He promised to meet you in his throne room with grace and mercy. That's a promise. You can ask him for anything. Sometimes he answers. I've been healed myself instantaneously. He didn't promise to heal me every time. Glad he took away the pregnancy. That was really inconvenient. In this church, there's a guy, cancer, went to a very qualified cancer specialist to look at the diagnosis. The guy says, I don't know, he's looking at it. Come back in 5 years, we'll have another look at it. The coincidences go up with the children of God along with prayer. Are you with me? We can ask for whatever we want, and God doesn't have to, but he does it just because he spoils us a little. Are you with me? Come on, you're spoiled rotten by your father. Admit it. You're some of the wealthiest people on the planet, and he just loves you to death, and he spoils you. Ask for anything you want, but be contented with grace and mercy. Amen?